there is definitely something going on with UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. That is a fact.
Cliffe and Stuart Knetchle had an amazing conversation with Logan Paul. This part of the conversation where the topic of aliens comes up. Now, of course, we've talked about aliens a lot here. We've had Wise Disciple on. We've talked about it in regards to Michael Heiser's work on it. This is something that I think is very important. And the way Stuart answered this question, if you're new here, if you're not new here, please do me a solid and smash that like button. And please make sure you're subscribed. We are on the verge of cracking 600,000 subscribers. Huge percentage of you guys that watch the channel, unfortunately, are not subscribed. It would mean the world to me if you smash that like button. So if you could do that for me, that would be amazing. Stuart, I love you, brother, but I don't know, dog. Go ahead.
There is something going on with no, I'm not going to say extraterrestrial life because we don't know what it is. There is definitely something going on with UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena. That is a fact. Congress is now finally admitting to it. We're getting little hints and tidbits here and there. Stuff is leaking that we're seeing about propulsion vehicles and machines that defy physics as we know it. They can create their own gravity, and that's how they're flying through space, which, by the way, I think is probably what's happening. You see these, usually they're the orbs or some type of machine without any like identifiable propulsion system using what's potentially, maybe they're calling like a warp drive, where these things can create their own gravity. The guy who went on Joe Rogan's podcast and said he worked at Area 51, he was talking about,
he's referencing Bob Lazar. There's some questionable things about Bob Lazar.
Yeah.
Anyone that's ever done a deep dive on Bob Lazar, I'm not saying what he said is not true, but there's definitely some questionable things about Bob Lazar. That doesn't discount him, but even Rogan has acknowledged that there's, you know, he's kept the story consistent over the years, and that interview was very, 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 very fascinating. But listen to where Logan takes this. So he's saying this with such certainty.
He definitely is.
He's very, 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 very certain in this. And I think he creates a bit of a false binary here, in my opinion. Go ahead.
how he was working on an anti-gravity or gravity creation device that he found, and that's what the government was working. They're trying to reverse engineer it. Anyways, this tech that I believe exists, that we will find out more and more about in the next couple decades, I think could be an interesting window into the very far future. Perhaps it is extraterrestrial life. What if some sort of advanced civilization, creature, or technology comes down to Earth, and they're obviously probably going to laugh at some of the stuff we do, but they have answers to the origins of the universe, or maybe they don't. Just like us, they're like, we don't know, we have no idea, which is going to mean we don't know what the heck is going on, which would be horrifying. What if they do have answers? And what if some of their answers are practical and completely negate the idea of like a deity-esque creation moment, or they do have some sort of explanation for life and why we're here, or they have video for content.
Longest question ever. Oh my God.
Yeah,
I don't know what
they really buttered this on, didn't they?
Oh, I don't know what happened. But the question is, if like you were like, if some sort of extraterrestrial creature came down to Earth in this hypothetical scenario and showed us, and they're like, yeah, like no, this was the origin of the universe. This is why you're here. This is what you're doing. Would you be like, damn, I guess what I believed isn't true? Or would that be hard for you, Cliff? Like, and I know this sounds ridiculous, but like, man, in 40, 50, 60 years, maybe something like this happens, and I'm calling Stuart. I'll say, yo, Stu. They're saying they got explanations. What do you say?
Okay, so this is, to defend Stuart a little bit, this is an outlandish question.
The question's ridiculous.
Not only is it like, do UFOs exist?
Yeah.
This man said, and they come down, and they tell us the origin of the universe, and they have technology we've never seen before, and they can break all these laws of physics and nature. And it's like, well, okay, well, first of all, hypothetically, let's just say all that's true.
Yeah.
What would make you think that they're telling the truth?
Yeah.
Let's say all this happens. Let's say they have this tech that you've never seen that you believe is true. Let's say let's say that that's true. Why would you assume that they're telling the truth? Why would you assume that they're benevolent?
Yeah.
Why would you start with the presupposition that they're good?
Yeah, and that they want to communicate truth to you.
Right.
Like, why does that serve them? And you could also assume that they know everything about our current beliefs. So, like, let's go down and stir up some trouble. Mike says, oh, what if they had video evidence? Yeah. I was like, what if they have AI? like, what if they could just make up stuff?
and to pull an Alex Hermosi quote, how does this belief serve you, Logan? How does this belief serve you? It serves you because it keeps you unaccountable to a God and a deity and a moral standard outside of yourself.
Just mean like, I'm going to hold it down for 40 years until they come out with said information.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what Stuart's response was to this outlandish question.
I think there's so much you have to do to discount the Christian faith.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's not just an ossuary, a tomb that you roll over and you see Jesus' DNA somehow. I would need more than even that to discount the Christian faith. You have so much geographically that is connected. I mean, when you go to Israel, for example, you get a Christian tourist to show you all of Israel.
Now, I got to say, Stuart's taking the direction that I would take.
Okay.
If you pressed me on some random question and I didn't know where to land it. Like, I kind of get it.
fair.
As a co-host, I'd be like, oh man, I wasn't necessarily prepared for this. I like
that's
to
fair.
just sit here and critique things, as Dallas Jenkins once told me.
From directly the book of Acts, because no other book comes close to showing you the correct geography or these historical figures. Caesar, all these others, or all of the different archaeological evidence that we have, I think is just so clearly Christian that Christ actually lived, died, and rose from the dead. So take away the aliens, you would need a ton to show me that the resurrection didn't occur and that all these events didn't occur. If the aliens come down and they truly show me that no, there was no creator because there was no beginning of time. They say the multiverse. It's just time has lasted forever. And so you don't need a God.
Yeah.
You need a God if time has a beginning. That's why Einstein had a fudge factor. He didn't want there to be a God, but he said, let's create a fudge factor to make it seem like the universe has lasted forever. But it hasn't lasted forever, so he had to become a polytheist at least. So if the aliens come down and say, no, the world is X amount of years and the cosmos has lasted forever, I would have to say, yeah, there's probably no God.
Look at his dad's face.
This is amazing for multiple reasons. All right, I'm gonna run this back. I want you guys to pay attention to this.
All right.
Mind you, Stuart has been tagging along with Cliff for a while now, right? And there's probably some sort of in training, like not in training, but like, hey, I'm gonna pass this ministry off to you. And this, in my opinion, the complete disappointment from his
we don't know if it was complete disappointment.
from his dad, who is a master communicator and debater. Check this out.
Yeah, there's probably no God. What would you go with?
I do not know if they're aliens or not.
Okay. So here's what I think.
Poor Cliff.
Yeah, poor Stuart, because he
took the bait.
He took the bait. Exactly.
Logan created an outlandish scenario.
Yes.
And even still, the answer could have been, well, why would you assume they're telling the truth? And how could you assume they don't have doctored evidence to trick you?
Yes. And so he took the bait and ran with the logical conclusion that Logan Paul set up. But then Cliff, who's probably experienced this over decades of doing this, which is being presented illogical scenarios that may prove God's existence isn't real, with all these extra things, knows how to redirect it. And then he answers it way cleaner and redirects the question with like completely negating the premise of Logan Paul's thing. And to me, so we're gonna listen to Cliff's response here, but to me it was funny because I get Stuart. Like he's answering the question very matter of factly. Like the other day there was someone that's like, poor me, if God hates me, like God hates me because I don't have a girlfriend, but Zach has a wife and we're the same age. And you were like, man, why does he not have a girlfriend and you have a wife? And I'm like sitting here like, oh, maybe like, I don't know, maybe like he's overweight. maybe like I start going down all the logical conclusions. Like maybe he's bad at communicating and he can't speak to women. I'm thinking way too in the weeds and like the literal question. And then you pull out and answer the question masterfully from like, you have purpose and you're loved and all this stuff. And so I get it. Stuart's answering this question from like way in the weeds.
Very myopic.
Yeah,
answer.
very myopic, answering the question exactly as presented. But then Cliff, as a master communicator and debater, redirects it. Now check this out.
I'm totally open to it. Second point is, obviously the Bible talks about angels and demons. So obviously there's some type of non-human life that's real. Third point, what I have thought about is, if aliens came tomorrow and said that it was good to slaughter human beings and to eat them as hamburgers, what would be wrong with that? See, the moral relativist has no answer to that. The moral relativist says morality is just relative, which means today we kill cows and eat hamburgers. We humans kill cows, eat hamburgers. So if aliens were to come tomorrow, start killing us and eat human burgers, there's nothing absolutely wrong with that because morality is relative.
There's a Twilight Zone episode with that exact purpose.
Okay.
Not even kidding.
Now, because there is a God who's eternal, who's the creator, no, I would argue, it is wrong to kill humans, murder humans, and eat human burgers because God created human beings with an innate value.
He's cooking.
So that doesn't change. So I wouldn't be blown out of the water at all if next year we found out definitely aliens exist and they're extraterrestrial life. It's totally compatible with the Bible's worldview.
Okay, cool.
That was a great answer.
He completely hijacked it
Yeah.
and turned it into a moral relativism question, which is like, okay, you're assuming that God can't exist and aliens exist, but then you're assuming that then they just have the higher answers. What if they say that humans could be human burgers? And it's like, that was genius.
That's great.
Because he just flipped it. He was like, no, we all know we have innate value. So even if the aliens were telling us that God doesn't exist and they can eat us as human burgers, he like added that extra step there, then we would know that is wrong. But then why is that wrong? Because God exists. Kind of genius.
Yeah, it's great. And I think this, again, he could have then said, and how would that serve you? Like, why why are you more susceptible to believe this is true instead of believing that there's an eternal God who has order to the universe, who has moral absolutes, who has enough historic evidence to the resurrection through manuscripts as well as through church history? Why? I would want to probe and poke and be like, why is this so interesting to you? Why do you think this is more feasible?
Yeah.
You know?
No, 100%. Yeah, it's and he also goes and validates the idea of UFOs. He said the Bible clearly shows that there's non-human life in demons and the supernatural.
Yeah.
Kind of genius.
Yeah, great answer. If you guys want to see our video where we react to Cliffe really laying out an amazing apologetic for Logan and Mike, check that out over here. All right? See you over there. Peace.